Hey everybody, this is Chris with Coalition Gaming, and we're back with another video for you guys today. We're going to be going the top 5 used CPU and GPU combos. While last time around in our top 5 GPU and CPU combos video, we did that with respect to buying new, we're going to change gears a little bit and go for top 5 used. In this case, trying to get the most value for your money regardless of how you're going to buy, whether that be new or used, but in this specific case, let's go used. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 5 is the Xeon X3470 and an Nvidia GTX 760. So this might be kind of an odd recommendation, as a lot of you probably aren't familiar with that Xeon. However, it's a 4-core, 8-thread CPU on the from the first gen era of the Core i CPUs. Now the GTX 760, a little on the older side, sure, but it's Kepler architecture, compatible with GeForce Experience and Shadowplay and all that stuff. You can find them in 2 gig and 4 gig variants. Ideally, you want the 4 gig variants. They float online for around $60. And it's still a pretty good deal. You can probably get them for less if you know how to haggle. Motherboards for that are overclockable are in the $30 to $50 range, and the CPU as well in the $30 to $50 range. What's nice about this Xeon though is that they're marked down a lot cheaper compared to their i7 brethren from the same platform. And I believe that was the P55 platform, or what's that socket? That was socket 1156, I think. Either way, it's from that era. There are a few, I believe the i7 860 is the next comparable i7 brethren to that Xeon. However, they cost more. So most boards from that time that could support that same exact i7 could support the Xeons. Overclock that Xeon up to nearly 4 gigahertz and you'll be partying. There's a really good tech tuber out there, that's Brian from Tech Yes City, who loves this. This is his main go-to for value CPUs in the used market when building budget gaming systems. And well, I clearly agree with him because the CPU is really great for its age, for its performance, for its cost, all of it. So that's number 5. Honorable mention there is the Radeon 7950 or the R9 280. Make sure you have enough power supply for those, but either way, all that will be great for 1080p gaming. Coming in at number 4 is the i5 2500K and a GTX 770. Again, with this one, you want the 4 gigabyte variant of the 770, since a lot of games nowadays are using a little bit more than 3 gigs of RAM on ultra settings at 1080p. You're not going to want to go 1440p. That's not really where we're at here. We're looking at 1080p and below. The i5 2500K itself, legendary CPU. A lot of people still running it. It is starting to show its age just a bit, but an overclocked 2500K is still competitive with like a G4560, for example. So you can get them around that same price. That price being probably a little bit under $100 for that CPU, as well as Z68 motherboards going for under $100, and possibly even P67 motherboards, which can overclock it as well, going for under $100. So all those are well in the budget range and can get you great 1080p gaming. You're going to make sure you're going to want to have a 500 600 watt power supply for these ones, because the 770 is a bit of a power hog. So that's number 4. Honorable mention here is the Radeon HD 7970, aka the R9 280X. Those graphics cards, again, you can find them around the $60 to $80 range. You want the biggest gigabytes in the VRAM as you can, but yeah, those are great ones to find used right now. Coming in at number 3, we have the Xeon E5 1620 and a GTX 960. Now, again with the Xeons, yeah, I love the Xeons. Brian from Tech City, I'm sure you agree. The Xeons, great value because they're getting dumped onto eBay by server companies and companies that are upgrading through their cycle. So the E5 1620 has a i7 brethren, I believe it being the i7 2600K, I think it is. Either way, this one has a 3.6 gigahertz base clock with a 3.9 gigahertz turbo clock. The E5 1600 series V1 to V3 are multiplier unlocked, so it's a completely overclockable CPU. You can probably get up to around 4.5 gigahertz or higher with this CPU, and its performance is still great. If you guys have seen anything of Sandy Bridge versus Confident, you see that it still keeps up, and so will this CPU. You can find them for around $70 online on eBay. I got one that had a little cosmetic damage that I use on my test bench / streaming PC for $40. So you can find even better deals if you keep your eyes peeled for that. So the 960 on the other hand, that's probably around $100. You can probably find a 2 GB variant for less than that, and the 4 GB variant within that range, maybe a little bit more. It still offers great performance. It's the Maxwell architecture. Nvidia is going to continue supporting that for a while longer. I don't see it deteriorating like Kepler, but great GPU for this. So these two as a combo, great system for 1080p gaming, 60 Hertz, maybe even higher if you have a higher refresh rate monitor. And yeah, that's number 3. Honorable mention for the aspiring streamer or a content creator or editor on a budget here is the Xeon E5-1650. It's a 6-core as well. You can find them for around $100. That's 6 cores, 12 threads, overclockable. Motherboards for this CPU are a little more expensive though, because for some reason the scarcity of the X79 platform has driven the used prices up. However, some generic Chinese companies are starting to push out motherboards that can overclock these CPUs up to 4 GHz and are surprisingly good quality according to some of the reviews I've read on them for the $100 to $130 range, which makes them somewhat budget friendly. The value isn't still the greatest, but it's way better than looking for a used X79 enthusiast board, which easily go over $200 and has no value at all at that price range. So also, if you're an aspiring Twitch streamer, video editor, anything like that, rendering, the E5-1650 gets an honorable mention here because it's 6 cores, 12 threads, overclockable. You can throw it on one of these boards that I just mentioned and you'll have a lot of horsepower in terms of processing. So that's number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have the i5-4690K and an R9 290. So this is the first part of the list where I'm actually making the GPU a Radeon as far as the recommendation, but at the same time, this is where the list starts to run out of steam a little bit. So the motherboard prices on these ones are great. Z87 and Z97 motherboards start at around $60 and go up from there used online. Great pricing for those boards. The CPUs, the i5-4690K keys, they go for $150 and up. The GPUs themselves, the R9 290s, they go for around $150 as well and go up from there. The RX 480s and 580s, which would be the recommendation here if the prices were right, they beat the 290s everywhere. However, the 290 still holds itself very well in a lot of games, especially if you're looking at 1080p 60 FPS. So those are the combos there. That's number 2. Coming in at number 1, we have the i7-4770K and the GTX 980 Ti. Now the 980 Ti, before the mining craze hit, the prices on those used were they're just dropping like crazy. I myself got 2 used 980 Ti's and some good ones too, an EVGA and a Gigabyte for $250 and $260 respectively. That's 1070, GTX 1070 level performance, if not a little better, for under $300. Right now, most 980 Ti's used are $300 and up. But because 1070s are still pretty expensive, the value is still there on the 980 Ti as long as you can get it for, let's say, $330 or less, especially if it's a really good factory overclocked one like the Zotac Amp Extreme or the Gigabyte Extreme gaming versions. The price of the CPU online, let's just looking at eBay, they start at around $200. The 4770K overclockable, especially if you delit it and do all that stuff to it, can still get great clocks, have absolutely great performance in gaming. You'll be able to do all the 60 FPS or higher, maybe 120, 144 to your heart's content with the CPU. You get all the little bit of rendering, maybe some other stuff on it. It can do a lot still. Very relevant CPU, but the bonus here is that the motherboards for them, as previously mentioned in number 2, the motherboards are extremely cheap used online. And altogether, you would have a great 1080p gaming system, even 1440p 60 FPS. So there is a little bit of an X factor here. Since the release of Coffee Lake, Cable Lake, and Skylake, people with these older generation systems have been looking to offload them. No doubt when the 1080 Ti came along, the 980 Ti prices dropped used, and that's how I got mine. But entire systems are being offloaded for crazy good prices. So if you keep an eye out for more than just components, you're more likely to get a better deal than you expect, especially with a Haswell based system or a Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge, one of those ones, because it's still incredibly relevant and still incredibly powerful, can do everything still, and you can get a great price on those, especially if you're looking for a whole system, as I said. Anyways, this is Chris with Coalition Gaming. If you guys like this video, click that thumbs up button, subscribe, we always have more coming, and make sure you check out our contest. We're doing a giveaway for a gaming PC, and that'll be linked in the description below or right up here. You'll see a little card appear for it. we have really good plans with that. You get to check out some of our other Coalition Gaming Crew members' channels through that as well. You catch us streaming, you'll see some other opportunities for more entries in that contest, as well as a way to beef up that system. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.